how do you start a group like that? What do you do? Yeah, I know in the other places I've taught, I've got some PowerPoint, I've got some handouts. What?
Yeah.
So a practical question, I guess.
Colin, I'm very happy to go. Well, but
Go on,
I'm
go, go, go.
see. Well, it's how to start it is to say is to ask what's around, what is around, because there won't just be appetite and curiosity. There may also be bits of apprehension and anxiety. And where I go with that opening question of what is around, what do you bring, what are your concerns about this process, as well as your interest in it, in deciding to come to a group like this, often will start us thinking, or as a group, about our prior educational experience. That they're often, in my experience, um, is prior experience of an educational setting around that raises anxiety, fears of being evaluated and judged, of not being good enough, of not fitting, of not measuring up to a particular way of education being delivered. Often that is around. So it's not only what's your question coming here about wanting, what's your curiosity about, for example, training to be a supervisor, but what are your own concerns about joining a group where this is the stated educational environment, and what are your apprehensions and worries about that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
because I guess they're going to be there right at the start as we step into that environment. So let's not sail by them. And
Yeah, yeah, and it's almost like I'm now sitting wondering if that almost has to be invited in and addressed and made explicit in order for a freer endeavour to begin. To
mm,
begin, that has to be acknowledged if it's there.
yeah. Yeah, we'll be interested to kind of get some feedback from the chat room. If anybody's got some thoughts about that as a
Yeah,
starting place. And
yeah. I like.
There was, sorry, Dot. There were things you said. There were several things that I caught me. There is the warmth of welcome, and I've always liked to think that I was welcoming when I was running the courses. Then you and I have been running the courses, but I think there's been an additional quality of welcome with you as well as people arrive the first morning, and it is quite clear they're often quite apprehensive, and quite understandably so. This is a course I'm committing to for 10 days. I don't know anybody. I don't know the trainers. What the hell will happen? They say it's going to be unstructured. Oh my God, that's even worse. Um, and I suppose it is about trying to create, I know Rogers talks a lot about it and educators talk about it, but trying to create a climate in which we dare to come out beyond our fear. And of course, sometimes what comes out over the duration of a course are deeply buried previous negative experiences of learning. Um, and so, and sometimes they will pop up on the ninth day, or will pop up in people's writing way after the course, that, of things that have inhibited them from daring to fully express, well, this is what I'd like to learn now, or what I like to, or can I tell you this, and will you receive it, or will you be critical of it? But I think there's something in that welcome, and there's just a couple of other things that I love. I loved it recently when I came across the etymology of the word to educate or education, which I think is educare in Latin, which means to draw out. It's not to shove in, not to put in, but to draw
Yeah,
out. And I just love that. And of course, Martin Buber, the German philosophy, talked about education as contact. So I guess
yeah,
welcome and real contact, but I mean, we're talking about, it's easy shorthand to talk about Roger's conditions, but they are very powerful, I believe, as elements of trying to create a good enough working climate that the group can really begin to function and choose where it's going to go, what it's going to bring, and at
yeah,
the same time I don't want to ignore that we actually do bring along 2 casefuls of DVDs, case studies, ethical statements, handouts of all sorts. So we have a lot of resources available, but none of those are imposed upon the group. That there are resources available for the group to use if, as and when. And I don't know whether that also replies slightly to the question, John, about how to balance resources and ambience.